Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Jason Barker with the Natural Athletes Clinic. Now that summer's here, I want to talk to you about hydration. More importantly, I want to talk to you about smart hydration so you can avoid some common mistakes that go along with that. It's really easy for people to become dehydrated. And in fact, it's probably really important for athletes to pay attention to this because it's the most common and also the most easily prevented performance limiting thing that you can do. All of our organs are highly dependent on hydration. Everybody knows this, it's pretty common sense, but for athletes, we really need to pay attention to how hydration affects our heart, our skeletal muscles, our gut, and even our brain. It's really easy to get dehydrated. Most people don't realize that. The average person just wakes up in the morning, has a cup of coffee, they'll go to lunch, or rather be at work, go to lunch, maybe have another drink, and then maybe not have anything else to drink until they get home at night. People do that chronically, and then they'll say, hey, I'm gonna go for a run or something like that. Then they'll think, well, maybe I'm a little dehydrated, I'll chug a couple of glasses of water and I'll be good. Problem is, it doesn't work like that. When you add a lot of water to your body very quickly in a short amount of time like that, you actually end up diluting the electrolytes in your bloodstream. So then your kidneys work really hard to retain that balance, and then you end up losing all that water. It actually causes diuresis or urination. So it's important to hydrate over time rather than just do it in the immediate short term. Also, we lose a lot of water through what's called incessant water loss. This is when we sweat. Obviously, when we urinate or when we defecate, you lose water doing those things, but you also lose a lot of water just through breathing. Think about in the wintertime when you can see that water vapor coming off of your breath. That's fluid that your lungs are losing. That can amount to up to about a quart of water a day for the average person. So those are a few different ways you can lose water without even knowing it. What are some of the ways that you can get dehydrated? Well, the weather and our environment is obviously the biggest one. If it's hot outside, you're going to sweat more than if it's cool. Although here in Colorado, we've got a unique situation. Our winters are so dry that it's actually pretty easy to get dehydrated during the winter time here, same as in the summer. Another thing that plays a big role is your body type. If you're leaner and more muscular, or if you maybe have a little bit of extra cushioning or adipose tissue. Adipose tissue, otherwise known as fat, will keep you from being as hydrated as readily as somebody who's maybe a little bit leaner. Adipose tissue is a lot drier than muscle is, so you may not be able to store as much water in your tissues. And then adipose tissue is also a really good insulator. So somebody who's got a little bit of extra cushioning is going to have to get rid of that heat. They're going to work a lot harder to get rid of that heat, so they're going to be sweating a lot more. Another one is your intensity, right? If you're going out hard for an hour-long run, you're going to sweat more than just maybe a 30-minute spin in your basement on your bike. So the intensity obviously affects how much you sweat. And then the last one is what type of sweater you are. I'm not talking about the ugly Christmas sweater or something like that. What I mean is, are you a light sweater, or maybe you're the person who at the end of an hour-long yoga class, you're standing in your own puddle. Another way to look at this too is if you get those white salty stains on your shirt or on your visor, that tells us that you maybe lose a lot more electrolytes than the average person does. And theoretically, these people will sweat a lot more than somebody who doesn't get that staining on their shirt. So those are some things that you can think about that maybe affect your sweat rate. How much should you drink? How do you know how much you should drink? Well, there's a couple of different ways we can go about this. The best, most reliable way to know how much you should drink is your thirst, right? It's actually a really good indicator. A few years ago, all of the experts were saying that by the time you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated, it's too late. So then we saw a big switch in the advice, and that was to drink before you got thirsty, drink all the time, drink as much as you can. Well, that caused a lot of problems. What happened then is that people were drinking so much they were actually diluting their electrolytes in their blood, and that can make you really sick. So don't do that. It does turn out that after some more research that your thirst is actually your best guide. If you want to get a little bit more scientific about it, you can do a pre and post-exercise weight test. So you can get on the scale, no clothes on at all, weigh yourself, record it, go out for your run or whatever workout you're going to do, get right back to that scale immediately after, strip your clothes off again and weigh yourself. That change in weight, you will have lost some weight, is how much fluid you've lost. Sorry, it's not how many pounds you've lost, okay? You don't lose pounds that quickly. You don't lose tissue like that. You are just losing water. But you can use that to get a good idea of how much water you're actually losing during your workouts, and then you can use that as a guide to replace that. Of course, you need to take into account if you actually had to urinate during that exercise or if you were drinking water. But I'd suggest maybe just do like a 30-minute run or an hour-long run, see how much fluid you lose. The final way we can do this, and this is kind of the latest advice out there, is your body weight in ounces divided by 2. So if you weigh 160 pounds, divided by 2, that's 80. That's about how many ounces you want to have over the period of a day, just to maintain some hydration. Okay, this doesn't take into account, oh, I did a 2-hour run this morning or a 3-hour bike ride. That's just kind of what you need every day to stay hydrated. What should you hydrate with? What's the best thing to drink? Well, over the long term, there's no doubt water is the best thing to drink over the course of a week. But there's a little problem with water in that it doesn't contain any electrolytes, very few if any. When we drink too much water, we need those electrolytes to help hold that water in the body. Pure water goes in, it does help with some hydration. I'm not saying that it's not useful, but you need to have some electrolytes in there. Electrolytes, you can think of them as making water more sticky. Good example of this is if you maybe go out for sushi and drown your sushi in a bunch of soy sauce that's got a ton of sodium in it. The next morning you wake up and your eyes might be swollen, or your fingers are a little swollen, your ring fits a little bit tighter. That's that sodium holding on to that water. That's water retention. Now, I'm not saying that we need to bomb our bodies with a ton of electrolytes like this, because if you do too many electrolytes, you get the opposite problem. They sit in your gut. They pull water into your gut, effectively dehydrating you. Remember that water, we want that in your bloodstream and out in the tissues. When it's in your gut, do too many electrolytes, you're going to spend a lot of your time in the porta potty getting rid of those electrolytes. Not a pretty picture. Okay, the other way that we want to keep water inside of our bodies is adding a little bit of carbohydrate to that water. Carbohydrate, also known as sugar. We know that when we've got water mixed with a little bit of carbohydrate in a specific concentration, that rapidly helps your body absorb that water. So some electrolytes, a little bit of sugar, glucose, fructose, sucrose, there's all kinds of sugars out there, and there's a lot of debate about that too. That's something we'll hit in another topic. Those will definitely help you keep that water on board and make it so you have some good hydration during that workout. Okay, so I want to leave you with a few last hydration tips. First one is no new formulas on a big workout day or a race day. I know I just told you to add some electrolytes and add a little bit of sugar to your water. However, you don't want to do this on an important day because you never know how this stuff is going to affect your body. It takes practice, it takes some timing to get this stuff down right. Always practice with the new formulas on days that don't really matter. You don't want to do it on a big workout day or a big race day because you may end up in the porta-john dealing with stomach cramps or other digestive issues like that. Okay, the second thing is that we don't want to do that carbo loading dinner. All the big races invite you to the big pasta dinner the night before. Problem with this is that pasta sits in your gut, you absorb water in there, again it kind of dehydrates you a little bit. You wake up the next morning being all thirsty and bloated. Okay, that science is getting a little bit old and there may be a little bit of a flaw to it. So just eat your regular dinner, something you like to have the night before. Don't have the big old giant bowl of pasta. Third thing, no NSAIDs. These are the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Ibuprofen, Aleve, Motrin, things like that. You know that these drugs are pushed on everybody for every little ache and pain, and I even see them pushed on people to take before their workout so they avoid getting sore. That's ridiculous. You don't need to do that, and it's actually kind of dangerous. NSAIDs will do a lot of things to your body. They have a lot of side effects. One is they'll overload your liver. Second is that they make your gut bleed. And the third, that's most important to our topic today, is that they impair kidney function. So remember, your kidneys are responsible for maintaining your body's hydration status. They keep that balance of electrolytes. They tell your body how much water to keep and how much to get rid of. If your kidneys are impaired, you can't stay hydrated. That can lead to a lot of problems. In fact, we know that the amount of NSAIDs that an athlete takes is directly proportional to how much time they spend in the medical tent. So definitely avoid those. We'll talk about some safer anti-inflammatories you can take in a future blog. I hope you learned something from today's tips so that you can have a safe, productive summer training. I'm Dr. Jason Barker with the Natural Athletes Clinic, and we'll see you soon.